Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Eleanor Hawkins. I'm excited to guide this conversation. It's all around sport for development, and that's built on the ideas that play can be a uniting force and a serious tool for change. And we're going to talk about what that actually means in practice here today. But before we jump into that, Marjorie, we're in DC. I've got you here on the stage. We just heard from the mayor. What can you tell us about the new stadium? What's the latest?
Well, I think you all had a preview. It was released, and the feedback was really good. I have to say, to sit here and just having heard the mayor talk about the stadium and what it means to the city and how much impact it can have is both hugely inspiring and reinforcing of what we're doing, but also that's a lot of pressure. But I will say we take it very seriously. It is a huge responsibility, and our goal is to bring a best-in-class global destination to this city to enable the mayor and our whole community to do the things that we really should and want to be doing. Hosting the Olympics. We're going to compete to bid for the Women's World Cup in 2031, which means we have to have that stadium finished by 2030, which is our goal. And we're thinking a lot. I could talk a lot about a lot of facets of the stadium. I'm intimately involved in the planning, and we think a lot about the inside of the stadium, the outside of the stadium, the areas surrounding the stadium, the landscape, and how the community can fuse with the stadium. It sits amongst giants, and I heard the mayor say that. There are so many wonderful buildings and monuments, and so it is a lot of pressure to come up with something that reflects a modernity, but also respect what's here and what came before us. So we're thinking a lot about that. And also game day versus not game day. I mean, we want this to become something on tourists' lists of what they have to see when they come to Washington, D.C. And we're thinking a lot about how we do that and how we give the community access all year long. And then obviously access to great sporting events, international events, entertainment. I hope that Taylor Swift will come sing in our stadium.
That's a goal. I want to stay on the community piece. Talk to us about how this could continue to support some of the work that you're doing with Harris Philanthropies, specifically around youth sport.
So Harris Philanthropies, which is our family foundation, is very focused on youth in sports, but we also have other foundations. I think most of you know that we're one of the largest sports businesses in the country. We have football, we have basketball, hockey, Premier English football or soccer, NASCAR. I mean, we have a lot of sports, and I've chaired the Sixers Youth Foundation for the last decade. I'm on the board of the Devils Foundation, and there's definitely a common thread that runs through all these organizations and our overall business. It's part of the culture of the business, which is we have the privilege of being the steward of these sports teams, and with that comes the responsibility to give back to the community. And the way we felt most effective is to focus on youth in sports and then sneak in the education and connect the two. And obviously sports provides incredible skills, habits, discipline. I think especially during this age of Instagram and TikTok and mobile devices, the opportunity to have kids playing with each other, being mentored by a coach and interacting and learning how to win and learning how to lose and be a really wonderful human being is all part of what we hope to accomplish. And we have many youth programs that we've initiated and been a part of, and we're very excited about bringing all of that knowledge and experience to the DMV.
Brendan, I want to bring you into this conversation because as we are about to walk on stage, you said, I've got breaking news for you. I'm also getting involved in supporting the community and the youth of DC. But before you share more about that, tell everyone a little bit more about Peace Players International.
Sure. So I am a lifelong Washingtonian. Grew up about 2 miles down 16th Street. Grew up playing basketball and got the opportunity to play in high school and in college, and then in Ireland, which would be like the lowest level of European professional basketball. So I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was living in Dublin, and I went to Gonzaga, which some of you that from here are familiar with, and I brought my brother was a senior at the time when I was in Ireland, and I brought the team on a trip, and we spent a few days in Belfast, and as part of that, I started doing work developing programs and camps and clinics in Belfast, which I assume most of you know about the conflict in Northern Ireland, where kids grow up playing different sports, they go to different schools, and are separated by Protestant or Catholic neighborhoods. And basketball was like really the only neutral sport and one of the few ways you could bring kids together. So my brother and I, after having that experience, launched Peace Players about going on 25 years. And our mission is to use the sports to bridge divides and develop leaders. So we have programs in the Middle East, in South Africa, Northern Ireland, and then in 2017, in partnership with Nike, we launched in the US. We're now in Baltimore, Brooklyn, Chicago, LA, and Detroit. And I had mentioned that it's not done yet, but I grew up here and I've always wanted our program to operate and exist in Washington, and obviously there's a lot of needs. So I think we're about a month away from being able to announce a program in Ward 8. And again, the idea around if you can bring kids together to play sports, to develop positive relationships, they can see the humanity in others, in each other, develop leadership skills, and really become the type of leaders that we want and need in this world today.
It seems like you guys share some very common goals here and using sport as that great uniter. I'm curious, though, how do you gauge the success of these programs? Like, are there hard metrics that you look at to show the impact that it's having, not only on the community, but on the lives of these young kids? Sure.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways to answer this question. I think a lot of times when people see, I think this is changing a bit, when people see sport, they might see, hey, that's nice or a luxury rather than a critical development tool. And so I think organizations like ours that work with lots of kids every day, there are a variety of ways to gauge success, whether that be from relationship development, individual skill attainment. One of our things we're really proud of, we had something called a randomized control study, which was a deep investigation around behavior change. We knew that our kids were developing relationships. We knew that they were taking their experiences and bringing them to their families. We knew that coaches were becoming leaders, but we had to ask the question, all right, how is this impacting behavior? And so we had researchers from NYU and local universities in both Israel and the West Bank, and they followed a group of our kids and a group of control kids over the course of 7 years. And we had some dramatically positive results, including what they call positive peace-building behavior, and the willingness of our kids not only to go to the program, which is in a place like Israel, that's a big enough accomplishment just getting kids on the same court, but the fact that they were willing to stand up for each other in peer groups. And it was really the first of its kind that we know of around grassroots peace building using sports. But again, it's one of the many, you can talk about lots of different types of ways to evaluate. I don't think there's one answer. I think there's an array, whether it be just anecdotal results. I mean, for us, a big thing is because it's sports, making things happen that weren't happening before. So for example, our program in Cyprus, which is divided between the North Turkish Cypriot community and the in the Greek Cypriot community in the south, we were in the buffer zone patrolled by the UN, and we got kids and families to cross that zone for the first time in 30 years. So what does that mean? I'm not really sure, but it was happening, and then it made it okay for other things to happen. In a place like Israel, we were able to change the requirements for the local ministry for our kids to participate, which excluded Palestinians. So we worked with the there's some subtle ways in which discrimination happens on both sides, but we were able to get them to change their registration requirements, which now allow Palestinian kids to play in the recreational leagues, which again impacted us because they were able to play with us, but much further beyond us.
Marjorie, in some of the work that you've done, I know you've done a lot of work in Philadelphia specifically. How do you all measure the success of these programs?
So we actually have a slightly different view. When we are introduced to a particular program and we decide that we want to partner up with this organization or whatever organization, we try to figure out what they're trying to accomplish. So there are a lot of different, and when we write up our grant agreements, we put in there that we want to have certain KPIs. So for example, and it's really more to just test what's going on and not really having anything to do with whether we're going to take away the money or give them more money. So there is a little bit of a fear factor. So you have to sort of make people comfortable. We like to encourage our grantees to be partners. We like to help them. We want to go into the city with them. We want to host events for them, bring them to the stadium, have kids come and see a basketball game. But along with that, it depends on the organization. But if you have an after-school program, we want to make sure the kids are coming back, that there's consistency, that there's some form of attendance taken, and there's some level of connection between the program, the kids that are coming through, the families. So that would be one example. There's other examples where we want to maybe track, do they stay in school? Do they go to college? And so depending on the organization, you'll have different measurements. And we do like to put that into our grant agreements.
Mm-hmm. You've both seen kids kind of go from participants into leaders. Do you have any stories you can share about maybe one individual kid and their trajectory, or how these programs have helped shape an individual's life? Brendan, if you want to start.
Sure. I've actually got a team.
Okay.
So I mentioned the work in Israel. Our headquarters is Jerusalem. We started there in 2005. It's obviously a very challenging place, but also an incredible place. And it took us 5 or 6 years to be actually able to bring communities from both sides together. I think we had people in the leadership positions who were smart enough to know you can't rush this. People don't trust it. You've got to also get the Palestinian level up to the point where there's some there's some solid enough players where they can compete. And so it took us 5 or 6 years, and then from there we were able to build the first integrated club in the country, where you had Palestinian Israelis playing in the highest, most competitive leagues on a regular basis. Another 4 or 5 years, 2016, I think, our under-18 girls team. And in basketball, for those of you who've been to Israel, it's really popular, and the level is very high, and you see it now. You've got 2 or 3 players in the NBA, and also people are very, very passionate. And again, up until our program, there wasn't an opportunity for kids from both communities, Palestinian and Israelis, to compete together. And 2016, our under-18 girls were in the national championship, which is, again, it's a big deal for there. And it's on video, and we've got, it goes down. You couldn't have scripted this like a movie. You couldn't script it better. And you had the team we were playing goes up by 1 with like 7 or 8 seconds left. You see both cheering sections of parents on both sides. And one of our girls, Toot, gets a rebound and makes a shot pretty much at the buzzer. And then you see the 10 teammates, 5 Israeli, 5 Palestinians, on center court, celebrating not only winning a championship, but what that meant. And you see their parents, Israeli and Palestinians and friends, cheering together. And so that was 10 years ago. And members of that team, we've got one young woman who started her own political party in Israel. We have a doctor. We have a Palestinian woman just about to finish law school that's focused on human rights and bridging divides. We've got 2 women from that team now run our program in the Middle East. So they grew up in it, they stayed it, and now they're leading it. We have one young woman who's still pretty high up in the Army. She's a top-level military commander. She comes back on her breaks and weekends in her, and this is Jerusalem, in her full military gear. Go back and you see everybody, both sides, how happy they are to see her. And so you have all these young people that have had these incredible experiences, that have developed relationships from other sides, which they never would have happened without basketball, without this program, and are not only staying with it and staying involved, but taking on leadership roles in their own ways. And we launched a couple years ago a leadership initiative, an academy, that's focused on supporting these young people in their mid to late 20s and 30s, because these are the types of people that need to be in leadership positions, whether public sector, private sector, and not all of them might not have all the resources or the relationships, so our job is to help them get those, and also be bound together with people like them that have had these experiences, they've known and connected with our programs, and have this, this network of people that are doing something much bigger than themselves.
And how are you seeing all of this translate into fundraising and investing? I mean, to me, it's very clear that there's this very powerful, it's clearly a uniting force. Are you seeing that impact the ability to fundraise and raise money for these sort of programs? And is this something that your philanthropy looks at as you're deciding who to partner with?
I mean, the way we think about it, we have certain sort of buckets that we invest in, and so we don't necessarily look at it like that. I mean, I think if you're focused on peace, you're going to go and raise money and contact people that, that bucket sort of is inspiring for them. For us, we're really more focused on the cities that we serve and the people that live in those cities and the youth of those cities, because we see them as the future of those places. So we have a very tailored way in which we look at.
So zooming in on community and cities, can you share a little bit about some of the outcomes you've seen from some of the programs that you all have supported?
So I could talk specifically about some of the programs. In Philadelphia, we partnered up with the NBA Math Hoops. So this was a program that the NBA developed where it was a math program. It was a board game, and Philadelphia really didn't have much presence, and we partnered with them and put it into a bunch of schools, and it's been a program that we've been committed to for the last 6 years, and we now sponsor the championship, and there are different competitions. They'll come to our practice facility, and so that's one program that we're very proud of. We like to commit long-term to these organizations because we think it's hard for them to sort of get the momentum. And when you have sort of an anchor tenant, it helps allow them to fundraise around that, and we can help them fundraise. So by committing, let's say for 3 years, it gives them a little bit of runway to get going and really make some headway. So and we have another program, for some reason it just speaks to me. It's called Leveling the Playing Field. And I don't know if they're in DC now, but are they? Yeah. And they came to us very early on, and they basically collect used sporting equipment. Soccer guards and balls and, the stuff that most families have in their house, and they sit in the corner and you don't know what to do with it, and they now distribute it to other youth that wouldn't ordinarily be able to have it. And it seems so obvious, right?
Right.
And it seems so easy, but these people took it upon themselves to create this organization that now distributes these sporting equipment. So that's another one, just an example of some of the organizations that we look to partner up with. In general, I would say one additional area that I feel privileged to be able to talk about is our teams and what they give back to the community. And so we have corporation, right? So we have people that are in the back office, we have coaches, we have players, and it's part of the culture of our sport teams that we all together give back to the community. And there really is an incredible feeling when you see an NBA basketball player or an NFL football player go over to a kid and talk to them and reach out to them. And I know that it lasts a lifetime for that kid. And I try and tell the players that that is the most important thing that they can do. To be seen by someone like that really allows you to feel like I can do something bigger and better with my life. So that's been really something that I find very moving.
I want to stay on this topic. We're getting close on time, and at Axios, we always like to end with one fun thing. And so I'm curious if either of you would be willing to share maybe your favorite sport moment. Maybe it's a personal moment that you had on the court or on the field, or a moment that your team got to celebrate. But what's like the biggest sports moment that stands out for you? And what made you fall in love with sport?
Well, funny and falling in love are two different things. Funny is definitely my husband shaking the newscaster's hand. Our family still makes fun of him about that, so that's a funny. What made me fall in love? I mean, the team we've had the longest is the Philadelphia 76ers, and for me, getting to know the players, having my kids grow up around, sitting on my lap, watching the team, seeing it change, seeing it be great, and then not so great, and having to endure all of that has been, for me, I think what makes me love being a part of sports so much, because it's so hard to win. And you see how much love and energy people put into it, and how important it is for them. And when the players are playing, they know that the people in the stadium are like hanging on their every move and connecting with one another. And I think for me, that was what's been so special and meaningful. And it's sort of the great equalizer. And it's just human beings wanting to live, play, and be together and share the experience. So I think for me, it's over time what I've been able to see and love about sports.
My funniest, I played basketball against my brother in college, and we guarded each other. And my mom yelled at me in the middle of the game for being too mean to my brother. And they had interviewed me the week before, and I probably was a little too aggressive about how my brother had never beat me in anything, and there was no chance that...
Who won?
We won. And I would say, I'll give maybe two quick answers. I think, number one, just coaching my kids and being around them and their games and how much joy that brings, number one. And then two, like from a Peace Player's perspective, the fact that my brother and I were able to start something and, really have no idea what we were doing and make a lot of mistakes along the way, but build it in a way that lots of people own it. So all of our sites, different country sites in parts of the globe, like they're locally run, they've got local boards, directors, local management teams, funders, and most of the people don't even know who I am. And so I'll go to these places and it's like, that's to me, like you talk about success, the fact that you're able to play a role in starting something that's meant so much to so many people, and other people are taking and running with
Scale.
it.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Thank you both so much.